you guys are having a good Friday before Memorial Day, or whenever, wherever you're watching this. We have a really big show for y'all today. Obviously, it's been a few days since I've been on. We've been doing a lot of stuff around the house, and I just kind of stayed off social media while I did that. So I spent today getting caught up and have lots of stuff to talk to you about, from Mica Miller to some other headlines that you might have seen. Alec Murdaugh apparently got into a fight in jail. We'll talk about that. Derek Chauvin's back in the news. Diddy, a bunch of updates as far as there goes. And yeah, that's what we have. So, but before we get into all of that, you guys know that I got to pay the bills. So, let me start talking about this stuff real quick. I'll go through it as quick as I possibly can. All right, so first of all, a lot of you know that I have a podcast. A lot of these shows and updates have been going straight to the podcast right after we finish here. This one will be no different, so if you need to take it on the go, you can follow it, 50 Words for Murder. Easiest way to get to it, going to Justin on TikTok.com. And scrolling all the way down till you see this logo. It's actually not even that far down. Till you see the logo, 50 Words for Murder. Clicking on it will take you to it on Spotify, but if you don't want to listen to it on Spotify, you want to do Apple, iHeart, wherever else you listen to them, you can also do that as well. Sorry, my microphone is falling down on me. Anyways, so follow that there. Yeah, let's do that if you want to listen to it on the go. The next thing I want to talk about is the books. Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, I need a huge favor in selling some of these books. I've got a surplus of these from a shipment, and I've got a bunch of new books of the other one coming in. So please go buy this book, Boundaries, if you don't know about it. If you are a parent, you are no contact, limited contact with a family member, this is a way to explain it to your child in a way that's easy for them to understand and also teaches them the importance of boundaries. And if you are an adult, believe it or not, a lot of the feedback, you can go read the reviews on TikTok Shop on this book. A lot of adults have found it useful for them as well. So it might help your inner child if you are in that position as well. But yeah, you can get to it by going to justontiktok.com or the TikTok Shop. Every one of them will be signed, and we'll get them out to you tomorrow. Or as soon as you get them signed, we'll get them out. So please, go buy it. The next one that is there is Surprises Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. This is the second one. You guys are close to selling me out of this one. I've got like 70-something copies of this one before the reprints come in. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm glad that you guys are finding this one useful, but this book is basically about if you are a parent, you want to teach your kids that, hey, surprises have end dates, secrets are not okay. Adults especially should not be teaching your kids to keep secrets. Teaching your children to use your voice, you need this book in your arsenal. This book is designed to help you do that. There's also a Q&A at the end so that you can have a jumping off point. And this book, despite the fact that it says 4 to 8 on it, because that's what my publisher put, I wrote this book to go all the way up to 11 or 12. So that being said, without further ado, we are done with the promotions. On that, the last thing I got to tell you, if you are new to the YouTube scene over here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Help me grow this channel. On YouTube, as a lot of you know, because I know a lot of people are coming over from TikTok. A subscribe on YouTube is the same as a follow on TikTok. Doesn't cost you any money. It just does me, a massive solid. So hit that button. So without further ado, let's talk about some stuff, guys, because we have some Mica Miller stuff to talk about that I've not had a chance to talk about. It's stuff that I've not even really seen on TikTok. Doesn't mean that it's not there. Just might not be my algorithm showing it to me. But before I get into the updates, Kyler, not Tyler, who is one of my friends on here with this case, has provided great information. They have provided some updates to basically clarify some rumors and misinformation that's out there. So let me go through those first, because I think that's important to get that out of the way, and then we'll get into all the new stuff. Okay? So first is Wayne Miller, so it's JP's dad, does not live near Mullins. He lives near Myrtle Beach. The address apparently that had been floating around was a P.O. box that he may or may not use anymore. The information could be old. Who knows? Basically, the area of Mullins, Wayne was apparently run out of that area multiple years ago, so he is just not there. The other thing, too, is Heather Wilson, who's still on good terms with Mica's family and was a good friend to Mica after she split with JP. Apparently, there was a misunderstanding years ago and has since been cleared up, and she is no longer attends Solid Rock. The same goes for Carol Bowen of East Coast Honda, who has since split with the church and also deactivated the VIP program that the church had in their name. Now, Tom Winslow, who is JP's attorney, the land apparently does not directly connect. So the rumor's basically been that the land where Mica was found directly backs up to Tom Winslow's land, hunting land, and apparently that's not exactly accurate. Apparently, backed up is about a 15-minute drive from Carr and 8 miles if you were going down the river. So not terribly far as that goes. Phone records cannot be accessed unless they are subpoenaed by an attorney. Okay, so I know apparently people have been asking about the phone records. Basically, an attorney or notarized request is signed to the account, signed by the account holders. Unfortunately, that's something that cannot be done. That's the law. There's really no way around it. Something that I think is also very important to note is that Robeson County has continuously denied FOIA requests, which is the Freedom of Information Act requests, for body cam footage from April 27th, and also claimed that their drone footage was not saved. That is in writing an email. I've seen that email. What's interesting is that typically there is protocol that goes through saving body cam footage, saving drone footage. There was a drone out there that day, so the fact that it has disappeared is, a little strange. Furthermore, apparently the Lumber River State Park also has said that the camera at their office was not in working order. It's amazing how many cameras aren't in working order. Going back to Riley Strain, right where he would have disappeared, cameras weren't working. This camera is not working. The drone footage, it's just I all find it just very convenient that where all these events happen, cameras just don't happen to be working, but whatever, that is just me. The other thing that I want to bring up, and I know that JLR also brought this up too, so I think it's important to make a point of it. I have heard the rumors about, slowed down call, a call that's out there that hears things in the background, enhanced audio recordings. A lot of them are circulating. I'm just going to tell you this right now. Without absolute proof that it was done by somebody, who has proper technology and proper intentions, meaning law enforcement, FBI, a private investigator, things like that, which even then, I'm very hard pressed to believe it. And the reason why is, there are creators out there who only care about the likes and the views and stirring the pot. It happened during Gabby Petito when Brian Laundrie went live from being on a boat on Instagram. I can tell you that to go live on Instagram takes multiple steps. So I knew that wasn't true then. It was somebody who faked that. The other one was during Idaho, the Idaho 4, where one of the cameras had caught a scream and something else, also fake. I basically, similar to what JLR said, likely these calls that you're hearing are faked and doctored. There's really no way to confirm one way or the other. So, take those with a grain of salt. Now, that being said, now that we've gotten those out of the way, the FBI is conducting a parallel investigation related to the death of Mica Miller. Now, there's been a lot of questions and concerns over what this parallel investigation is, what it entails. So here's what I'm going to share with you. The Robeson County Sheriff confirmed that the FBI's Columbia, South Carolina field office is in fact involved in a parallel investigation, but they clarified that this investigation is not related to the death of Mica Miller. They did state that there is no evidence linking J.P. Miller to Mica's death. That's what they've been saying. That is the narrative that they're going with. That's what they're continuing to stick by. They're also saying that he was not in North Carolina at the time of the incident, although, as a lot of y'all know, we know what time he got back. He left the game. The game was over by 12:30, and at this point in time, nobody has shown any photos of him being out of the area. That is just my skepticism there, because we're looking at license plate readers, and this is a guy who's got 29 vehicles registered to his church. And, he could have taken another car. This is just my opinion. I'm not being accusatory. I just don't feel like the proper checks have been done, or if they have, they've definitely not been shared with us. And that's on multiple parts of this investigation. Now, the FBI's role is remaining somewhat ambiguous with this, and a spokesperson for the FBI's Columbia office acknowledged communication with Robeson County authorities, but didn't confirm any specific details about the investigation. And then when reaching out to the FBI's National Office of Public Affairs, they wouldn't confirm or deny the existence of any investigation, and basically cited the Department of Justice's policy on that. But it has been emphasized. I'm going to say it again because they said it multiple times in the article that I read, literally 5 times they probably said it in this article, that the FBI's investigation is separate from the investigation into Mica Miller's death, which has been officially ruled a suicide. The precise nature of the scope of the FBI's parallel investigation remain undisclosed. Now, y'all have heard me talk about this investigation multiple times, and my feeling on this is that based on what we know, what we've been told is that this investigation started happening prior to Mica's death. We don't know how soon prior because it's the FBI. We're not necessarily privy to that, but we do know that involves the Dare to Care Africa mission and charity that he was doing, the same one that he put in Mica's obituary that he wanted, people to donate to. So, I think that there's going to be some financial crimes coming down the pipe. A parallel investigation, if it's not involving the death, I'm not sure what else that could be involving outside of Robeson County, why they would have asked. At the same time, it's something that we're not necessarily privy to knowing until and if they decide, to tell us. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is apparently is the truck. So as y'all know, basically up until now, we've been told that JP got a new truck right after this all happened, that, basically a new F-150. And apparently that is not true. But it looks like a new truck, and here's why. And I'm going to give this creator credit for this as well before I show the video here, here on YouTube. But basically, he took all the chrome pieces of the truck and had them vinyl wrapped. And honestly, when looking at this video, he didn't even do a great job vinyl wrapping it, in my opinion. But that's what he did. Let me show you the video so you know kind of what's going on here. But let me get that queued up for y'all real quick. There you go. So this goes to at Myrtle Beach Strip on TikTok. So give him a follow. He lives, he can literally see JP's front door. You can see you can see even up here, I can't show on the top part that trimmed the bubbles in it. I mean, it's really just a really poor job wrapping it. He must have done it himself, but he wrapped all the chrome. So it's the same truck, just so y'all are aware. But yeah, give at Myrtle Beach Strip a follow. He literally, you can walk out his door and he can see JP's driveway. So he's had a lot of really great content from this. So just kind of wanted to, give him a props on that, give him a shout out, etc. Now, as a lot of y'all know, there has been some civil matters. JP's been served, and we know kind of what some of that is. We already assumed what some of that is, and part of that is that there's going to be a court case in June, and that basically goes to Mica's estate and her possessions. They're going to see who's going to get those: her phone, her car, her purse, her portion of any marital assets, etc. That's kind of what's going on. That's going to happen in June because right now JP has everything. Technically, he was the husband, even though they were technically estranged. So there's supposed to be a court battle over that. Now, with that being said, let me play a very quick video for y'all. It's about 45 seconds, and then we're going to have a chat about this video. Okay? So let me get this pulled up real quick for y'all.
He claims that she...
I should probably preface this by saying, so this, obviously it says it, so this is Regina Ward. This is the attorney for Mica's family, and this was on Court TV the other day, and she says a couple interesting things. I actually pulled two clips from this that I think you're going to find interesting, because a couple of them we really, really need to have a discussion about.
He claims that she was diagnosed with these mental illnesses and was on lithium. According to her, she didn't know she'd been diagnosed or what her medication was, because he always controlled the medication. He administered the medication. In fact, he has admitted that he would cut her pills up and give them to her if she refused to take the medication. Lithium, he has been diagnosed and admits it in a sermon. And if you look up lithium and the side effects of it, or if you take too much of it or you're over-medicated, you go into delirium. And that's what her demeanor reminded me of.
Okay, so she was talking about the lithium, talking about the diagnosis, how Mica didn't even know she was diagnosed, but he was, regarding the lithium, and that if you take too much, it can put you into a delirium. So why did I play that? Well, obviously because of the lithium part, but also for a couple reasons. One is this attorney knows this family and says that the videos, the phone call, everything that she's seen about Mica, it's not the Mica she knows. It's not the same personality, not the same demeanor. That being said, in case a lot of y'all weren't aware, I was not aware of this until recently, so I'm not acting like, this is something that I knew and y'all didn't. I just literally learned this in the last couple of weeks. But apparently you can test cremains, the remains from cremation, and they're apparently I guess they've done that, and they're waiting on toxicology to see if she was on lithium at the time of her death. Apparently she was supposedly off lithium. But again, the videos aren't who she remembers them being. And apparently when Mica would refuse to take her medication or not want to take the pills that he wanted to give her, he would chop them up and force her to take them anyways. So, part of the thought process here, as she says later, and I didn't save this clip, but you can go back and watch this court TV. Her name is Regina Ward if you want to watch it, but you can watch the whole thing. It's not very long. It's about 10 minutes. But one of the things that she says is that basically anytime Mica tried to not take the medication, tried to refuse the medication, he would just force it on her, make her take it regardless. And there's curiosities as to whether or not because he was so sneaky with it, if he had gotten it to her prior to her death. Like, could he have gotten into her apartment? Could he have done something else with that? So that's kind of what they're kind of curious about and trying to see, especially with with everything that's going on. Now, I want to play another video for you, and this one's shorter, and this one's very important as well, and we have a lot to talk about. From a 22-second clip of this video that I'm about to show you, we have a lot to talk about.
We're always on top of making sure she kept that medication. And that son of a bitch would inject her in her buttock with testosterone. Steroid shot.
What for?
Allegedly to enhance her libido.
All right, you heard that. So he apparently was injecting her with testosterone, with steroids. Okay? And her father said that too in a different interview. And his father even actually mentioned that it affected her vocal cord to the point that her voice started to get deeper, which would happen with steroids, with hormones like that. But apparently this came from, they believe somebody that they knew. And apparently this was so in order for her to have her libido keep up with his libido, because what we've already learned about J.P. Miller is he is J.P. Miller is a deviant. I think it's fair to say that, between, going to pick up homeless people and, the dog, and constantly flirting with women, constant affairs, things that he's allegedly done with men. He just, anything and everything with a pulse, this guy is into. So he was apparently injecting her with testosterone. So if you're like me, when I read that, my first question was, where did he get testosterone? How did he get testosterone? Okay? And it's from this guy, Dan Figler. The Dan Figler who's in this mugshot. The Dan Figler that's in these mugshots. And the Dan Figler who on the Solid Rock website that's there right now is being promoted as being a coach, as being, a fitness instructor, and one of JP's friends. A guy who has charges for drug paraphernalia, and DV. As well as, I believe, no, that was just those ones. And that's this guy. Again, you can go this right now. Search this guy's name in Solid Rock. This will come up on solidrockmb.com. Okay? And this is where he got it. He's advertised, like I said, as a personal trainer, and I mean, somebody like that would have access to steroids. Now, apparently, the way that they met was they bought a punching bag off of him several years back, or a few years back, and I guess just kind of became friends with him since. He became part of the church, or whatever the case is. And JP, these are the type of people that JP hangs around with. Okay, and I'm a big believer of birds of a feather kind of thing, and these are the people who he hangs around with. So, that being said, those are kind of the biggest updates on him. on JP on Micah's case. There's going to be more to come out. I know that we're probably going to look for a lot more. Typically during the weekend, it gets a little bit quieter, but I suspect Monday after the weekend, we're probably going to see a lot more big stuff. But there are a few other headlines. I hope you guys will stick around and see, because I think you're going to find these interesting. These are some big names. And I figured the segue to the next one that's a segue to this is Alec Murdaugh. Why am I talking about Alec Murdaugh? Because, another South Carolina case. I've compared this, if you've been listening to me, I compare Alec Murdaugh to JP a lot as far as the way the cases go. Now, Alec Murdaugh, in his mind, was the smartest person in the room, untouchable, and JP's the same way. Although, in reality, Alec is I'd feel a lot safer with Alec than I would with JP. I'll put it that way. Maybe not actually, both of them I wouldn't feel safe with my money around them. But apparently Alec Murdaugh got into a jailhouse brawl. And this was something we might have heard back when it happened, which was back in 2021, but we really didn't know why, and now we know why. Okay? Apparently, while Alec Murdaugh was awaiting trial in 2021 for the murders of his wife and son, he got into a jailhouse fight with a guy named Robert Drayton, who is a convicted SO. But why would Alec get into this fight with a guy while he's awaiting trial? Well, according to Mary Elizabeth Murdaugh, who is Alec's niece, the fight happened because this guy, Robert Drayton, had SA'd her while she was in college. Mary Elizabeth, who is now 23, revealed that Drayton attacked her in April of 21 when she was a student at the University of South Carolina. He broke into her apartment, he broke her nose, tried to strangle her, and then AR'd her before she was able to escape. In 2023, because of that event, he was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree burglary and 30 years each for kidnapping and criminal SA, basically. The brawl occurred while they were both at the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center in South Carolina. They were both being held there. They should have never been put together. But what happened was Drayton basically went up to Alex and started claiming that he was being framed by Alex's family. Like, your family's framing us, which is what led to the fight. Both men were injured. And because of this event and since this event, the jail has kept them separated completely. So for this one, I mean, guys, look, Alec Murdaugh's a bad person. And y'all have heard me say that before. Good people can do bad things. Bad people can do good things. And I'm on Alec's side on this one. I'm just going to say it. I think Alec did a good thing on this one. I do. So you can let me know what you think in the comments if you agree or you disagree with me, on that one. But the next one that I want to talk about here is somebody who's been in the news quite a bit lately, and that's this guy, Diddy. Let's talk about Diddy because we have a few things to talk about with him on this one. So basically, as a lot of y'all probably have heard from now, and let me, while I do this, I have something saved. I'm going to say this before I start about it. If you or someone you know is in a domestically violent situation, I'm scrolling the hotline in the address at the bottom, but for those of y'all who are listening to this, possibly on a podcast later, the hotline is thehotline.org, and the phone number is 800-799-7233. Again, 800-799-7233, and website thehotline.org, but please call them. There is help. It usually takes 7 times for somebody to leave their abuser. Let's try to get that number down. If you're in this situation and you need help, please do call that number. Now, with that said, let's talk about why I'm talking about Diddy today. So a 5th accuser has come forward against him. One by the name of Crystal McKinney, who is now 42. She alleges that 20 years ago when she was 22, working as a model, she was introduced to Sean Combs, Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him. I think at that point he was Puffy or Puff Daddy, by a designer because she was a model. During an event, McKinney claims that Diddy made a public display of affection, of flirtation, complimenting her beauty, assuring her that she would succeed as a model, but with his help, that he could help her. So they exchanged phone numbers, and basically Diddy promised to assist her in advancing her career. Now, McKinney is recounted that throughout that evening, Diddy was very attentive, frequently refilling her glass with wine. Later that night, he invited her back to a studio. She was offered a joint, which she later suspected was laced with a narcotic or some type of intoxicating substance. And because she began to feel disoriented, and at that point she declined any further substances, but Diddy insisted, basically giving her pressure and calling her uptight for not doing it, despite, again, having fed her a lot of alcohol and a laced substance. Now, according to the lawsuit that was filed, and I have to be very specific on this because, alleged and according to are important words when we talk about somebody as wealthy and litigious as Diddy can be. But according to the lawsuit, Combs then led McKinney to a bathroom where he forced himself on her and made her perform, to keep it TikTok and YouTube safe, we'll call it an unwanted act. She apparently felt physically ill and eventually lost consciousness. The following year, she was distressed, depressed, blaming herself for what happened, as I'm sure a lot of people on the internet will blame her for what happens, because that's what happens when you talk about cases like this. And McKinney was hospitalized after she attempted to take her own life. And with that one, I'm going to stroll this at the bottom, which is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can dial, in America, 988. It's in English and Spanish 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So please know that that's available. But she tried to take her own life. She claims that at that point, instead of helping her, that Diddy used his influence to harm her career, and she has kept the clothing that she wore that night as evidence, preserving it in plastic wrap. And those allegations are part of a broader lawsuit that is being filed against Combs. Now, still talking about him, let's talk about what happened with Cassie. I've already talked about the video showing the abuse that occurred. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to show that video again. I don't think we need to. If you need to, it is on my YouTube. You can check it out, but it is hard to watch, and I think that we get the point. But basically, they're going to be unable to charge Diddy for that assault due to the timing. Apparently, the LA District Attorney's Office announced that because of that video that recently surfaced from 2016 that showed him assaulting, shoving, kicking Cassie, it's beyond the statute of limitations for prosecution. At this point, it's been it's been 8 years. Now that video, for what it's worth, because I've not seen anybody talk about this, but for what it's worth, when Cassie filed these allegations initially, he vehemently denied it. He called it a money grab. But that video that we saw matches the allegations that were made in the lawsuit that she filed last November, the one where she accused him of repeated abuse, including the incident in March of 2016 at that hotel in L.A., the one that he continued to deny, and the one that he settled shortly after it was filed, like within 24 to 48 hours. Like, it was quick. He settled that night. And I've heard it's an undisclosed amount, but I've also heard the number 34 million or 35 million floating around for what he would have settled for. I take that for a grain of salt because I'm not really sure. Now, despite this, I have to put this too. Multiple other allegations since this particular situation, the Cassie one first, came to light, have surfaced, but he's also denied every single one of them. And if you saw his apology video, which again, I'm not going to show, the apology to me reads, "I'm sorry I got caught." That's just my opinion on that matter. So the next thing I want to talk about, now this one's going to be a hot topic. Every time I talk about this guy, it becomes very controversial. But I'm going to talk about him anyways, and I'm not going to get into opinions. I'm just going to give you the facts of what's going on here, okay? Because some people, there are really two broad ends of the spectrum with this guy. There are people out there that hail him as a hero, and others hail him as a monster. I have my opinions. If you know me, you know where my opinions lie on this, and that's what I'm going to say. But this guy, Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin is famously, associated with the death of George Floyd for kneeling on his neck. There are people out there who feel that by taking the life of George Floyd, that he did the world a favor. There are people who feel like what he got in punishment aren't enough. You can decide which one you are. But I'm not here to talk about George Floyd. I'm here to talk about another woman by the name of Patty Day, who is suing Derek Chauvin, another woman named Ellen Jensen, who I'll talk about in a second who that is, as well as the Minneapolis Police Department for $9 million over an alleged excessive force incident. So Patty Day has filed a lawsuit against former Minneapolis police officer Chauvin, along with fellow officer who was the partner that day on scene, Ellen Jensen, and the city of Minneapolis, and they're seeking $9 million in damages. Day alleges that Chauvin and Jensen used excessive force against her in January of 2020. This was several months prior to Chauvin's involvement in the death of George Floyd, or the arrest of George Floyd, however you want to put that. And according to the federal civil rights lawsuit, Patty Day, who was employed by the Minneapolis Department of Public Works at the time, suffered severe injuries during the encounter, including a broken tooth, a bleeding hand, an injured shoulder, and multiple bruises on her body. She claims that she was forcibly thrown face down onto the street by Chauvin and Jensen, despite posing absolutely no threat to the officers. The lawsuit also alleges that Chauvin utilized the same knee-to-back technique on Day that he later used on George Floyd, that resulted in fatal consequences on Floyd. Day's ordeal occurred amid apparently a tumultuous period in her life. It was during a time where there was declining health of her father-in-law, there was a marital separation, and challenges of co-parenting with her two children. So on the day of her arrest, she had been grappling with this emotional distress and had been drinking. And she wasn't driving. She had taken a nap in her van. When she awoke, to an alarm, it was time for her to go pick her kid up from daycare. But she found that she was stuck in a snowbank. Despite her efforts to stay warm by activating the vehicle's heater using remote start, a neighbor called 911 alleging that she was attempting to drive off. The exact sequence to events, because I found this when I read it a little bit confusing in the order, but apparently the exact sequence of events is events leading to Patty's confrontation with Chauvin and Jensen remains a bit murky, partially because the city of Minneapolis has refused to release the body cam footage of that incident, despite the fact that they initially provided copies to Patty's criminal defense counsel. And according to Day's account, she repeatedly informed Jensen that her keys were in the back of the vehicle. She had thrown her keys in the back, which is how she used remote start, which, depending on the year, make, and model, 3 of our vehicles, you can start with an app. So that's possible that she could have done that. I'm not sure, because again, I don't have the account here, but I'm just telling people who might not realize that's the thing that can be done, that it can be done. But she had thrown her keys in the back of the vehicle, so she was unable to drive. But apparently, despite telling Chauvin and Jensen that, they still threw her to the ground, kneeled on her neck, bruised her up. The situation apparently escalated when Chauvin forcibly opened the driver's door, and with Jensen's assistant pulled her out of the vehicle. Despite her non-compliance being contested, she was charged with 2 gross misdemeanor counts of third-degree DWI following the incident. And I'm not sure where those counts stand. Now, basically, there was an evidentiary hearing back in February of 21. An assistant Minneapolis City Attorney, Annalise Backstrom, acknowledged the problematic nature of the interaction between Day and the officers. The lawsuit also paints an additional damning picture of Chauvin's alleged pattern of aggression and the Minneapolis Police Department's failure to address it, because it happened multiple times, because there were more than these 2, and I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. It also references previous instances of excessive force involving Chauvin, including instances with a child named John Pope Jr. and Zoya Code, both of whom received significant settlements from that city. By the way, up to date, because of the incidents that have already been paid out, the city of Minneapolis, because of Chauvin directly, has paid out $35 million, and now they have another $9 million lawsuit pending. $27 million of that was to George Floyd's family, which is the largest to date civil rights lawsuit that's occurred. But for these 2, it was $7.5 million to John Pope's family, to John Pope, I should say, and then $1.4 million to Zoya Code. That's kind of how the math leads up. So basically, with these particular incidents, the city of Minneapolis knew about Chauvin's behavior. They didn't offer him any additional training. They didn't offer any type of corrective action, no coaching opportunities, so to speak. And all these lawsuits, and the latest lawsuit on this one basically is designed to underscore the broader concerns about systemic racism and deficient training within MPD. And this was also highlighted in a 2022 report, which criticized not just Chauvin, but the entire department's organizational culture and approach to policing. Now, by the way, just for your knowledge, The video was released regarding John Pope. And if you remember, I called him a child, and that shows that Chauvin hit him twice in the head with a flashlight and choked him until he lost consciousness. This is for John Pope Jr. And then after he made him lose consciousness, he knelt on the back of his neck for 15 minutes. And by the way, John Pope was 14 years old at the time that this happened. 14 years old. He hit him twice in the head with a flashlight, choked him until he lost consciousness, and knelt on the back of his neck. 14-year-old. So that's the story on Chauvin and why he's up in the news again. Now, the last thing I kind of want to talk about, I don't have any pictures pulled up for this one, but I want to talk about it. I did a TikTok video about it, but I'm being suppressed on TikTok, so I want to tell you about it here because it's important. Now, if y'all are listening to me on this, if y'all remember, I might, maybe not so much on for my YouTube only peeps, but for the TikTok friends, y'all might remember that several months ago, like back in November, I did a video about American Airlines, and there was a flight attendant who got arrested because he took his phone and put a camera basically taped to the back of the toilet right before a 14-year-old girl went into that bathroom, basically took her up to first class saying, oh, those are full or broken, you can use this one, went in ahead of her to make sure things were clean, and taped a phone to basically film her. She noticed, she told her dad, was confronted and met by authorities when he got off the plane. Well, I'm sure so many of y'all will be surprised to learn that this one 14-year-old girl was not the only incident that he did this to. Apparently, he did this to 7, 9, 11, and 14-year-old girls. And all of this information, all of these images of them using the facilities were saved to his iCloud, this guy's iCloud. And authorities have obviously looked at all of this information and have notified the families, and there are lawsuits filed against American Airlines. And let me get this pulled up on mine. You know what? I can possibly present the tab for y'all on this so I can read it, but let me show y'all this. Here we go. Because you're going to see this headline, and I will be surprised if a lot of y'all, if you're on TikTok, you won't see it, but I'll read it to you. I'm going to be surprised if a lot of y'all don't audibly gasp over what I'm about to show you, which is this. American Airlines flight attendant, let me see if I can get rid of that thing over here. There we go. American Airlines flight attendant allegedly filmed girl 9 in bathroom. The company's legal filing blamed her. Okay? The company's legally filing blamed the 9-year-old girl for her going to the bathroom and being filmed in the bathroom. A natural function, a natural part of life, using the facilities. And they blame her. Okay? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's happening with this. So I'm going to preface this by saying, though, that American Airlines later released a statement basically stating that this statement was made. Okay, so the way it works is American Airlines has an insurance company to kind of deal with these sorts of things. Apparently, the insurance company got outside attorneys to come in and help with this case, and when they made a filing, they're still associated with American Airlines, but they're representing the company, but they're the ones who made the filing, this external associated with the insurance company associated with American Airlines. That's the one that did it. So now American Airlines has released a statement distancing the company, distancing themselves from the filing, saying that the attorneys had made a mistake and that the defense will be changed. And I believe it has been changed since then. But let me read you what the statement said in the filing. Again, this is a 9-year-old girl who had a hidden phone in the bathroom. She went to the bathroom. He took her, helped her get to the restroom, went in ahead of her to clean it, put the thing there, and here's what this attorney said, or this filing said. Any injuries or illnesses alleged to have been sustained by plaintiff Mary Doe, and they call her Mary Doe, obviously because she's a minor, were approximately caused by plaintiff's own fault and negligence, were approximately caused by plaintiff's use of compromised lavatory, which she knew or should have known contained a visible and illuminated recording device. The company's attorneys also went on to say in that filing that the accused flight attendant, who's identified as Estes Carter Thompson III, was not acting within the course or scope of his employment at the time of his alleged wrongful conduct against plaintiffs. So what does this mean? Well, the first part's pretty self-explanatory. 9-year-old kid should have known not to use a bathroom that had a camera in it, even though she didn't know there was a camera in it, but she should have known there was a camera in it. That's what the first part says. The second part says, well, he wasn't working for us at the time. He was off duty, so maybe he wasn't an attendant on that flight. I don't know that to be true or not. I don't know the flight information, but it could have been somebody coming back or forth from a flight or something like that. Nevertheless, this is the defense that they started to go with. They're blaming a 9-year-old girl for using an airplane bathroom, and it's appalling. It's beyond reproach. It's disgusting. Whatever attorney has put that needs to have a serious talking to, and perhaps, I don't think it's anything that's, report to the bar worthy. Maybe it is. I don't know. That's out of my pay grade. But instead of taking responsibility for the event, because again, they're representatives of American Airlines. So to the parents, American Airlines is blaming their daughter for being filmed. This child was violated. No matter how you put it, she was violated. So I struggle with American Airlines. I have for a while, because when there's an airline that pops up in the news for something that's not crash/Boeing related, it's typically American Airlines. When somebody dies, or somebody gets kicked off a flight, or somebody's getting filmed in a bathroom, or an animal gets lost, or something terrible happens, it seems to always be American Airlines. 97% of the time, I'll say 97% of the time, seems to be American Airlines. So I already struggle with them, and this is just another check, because this guy did this. It's their employee. Whether he was on the clock or not, he was flying that airline. As a result, I feel it's safe to say, as a result of his employment, whether he's going somewhere on his own because they get heavily discounted, if not free flights, or he's going back to home base, wherever he's going, he's on that flight, But it's terrible. Like I said, I'll give them credit for walking back the statement, saying that this was not our legal team. It was our insurance company's legal team, who they outsourced to another party. But at the end of the day, they choose to be with that insurance company. That insurance company represents them, which means any legal filings, entities, etc., represent them as well. So they can say what they want. They're still at blame. That's how it is. And I made this video on TikTok, and it has gone absolutely nowhere because it is being suppressed. So please, guys, feel free to watch it, blow it up, make comments, whatever, because I feel that people need to know this. And I feel like if you have children, American Airlines is not a safe place for your children. I have a child. I will pay more money if I have to fly. Frankly, American Airlines is expensive. I prefer to fly, Southwest. There we go, when I have a chance. And that's not a plug. I'm not sponsored by Southwest. I just like Southwest. So, anyways, that's what we have today going into the weekend. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend coming up. And again, I'll remind you, please go justontiktok.com. One thing, by the way, I'll show you this real quick, because I was told I'm really bad about promoting these. I actually, on the website too, and these are on TikTok Shop too as well. I have these ridiculous enamel pins. I'm going to show y'all, and I'm trying to clear them out so I can order more. But these are them. They're kind of backwards, but you can see how ridiculous they are. So I know it's reflecting off the thing. Let me see if I can do this. But you can go to Just on TikTok too and order those if you wanted to. But they are absolutely ridiculous. And if you are a collector, good metal, high quality enamel. So yeah, that's just me again, trying to pay the bills, right? So you guys have a great weekend. If I don't see y'all sometime this weekend, which you probably will. And yeah, just be safe out there. Have a good one, guys.